W.J. Fitzpatrick, a storyteller from the Mourne Mountains in County Down, recounts, I seen the Dullahan myself, stopping on the brow of the hill between Bryansford and Moneyscalp late one evening, just as the sun was setting. It was completely headless, but it held up its own head in its hand, and I heard it call out a name. I put my hand across my ears in case the name was my own, so I couldn't hear what it said. When I looked again, it was gone. But shortly afterwards, there was a bad car accident on that very hill, and a young man was killed. It had been his name that the Dullahan had been calling.
Stories especially, the fairies. But I always say to people, and I repeat it again and again and again, if you can't believe in the fairies, whatever about don't, you can't believe in God.
What do you think of when you think of fairies? This is what most people think of when they hear the term fairies. Ireland, however, has a completely different way of thinking about fairies, as shown by this Google search. Fairies, also known as the little people, good people, the hill people, or the She, make up an important part of Irish myths and legends. Fairies were used as a broad term for pretty much any supernatural creature, like the puka, changelings, merrow, and the banshee, among others. For hundreds of years, fairies and fairy legend have been an important part of Irish culture and often associated with the folk or peasantry. Their stories have survived off of the ambivalence surrounding their nature and the uncertainty of the stories that have been passed orally from generation to generation. Because it is an oral art, fairy legend has often been shunned or dismissed by the larger culture of literature. The way these stories are told is an important aspect of fairy legend, as the storyteller asks for both belief and disbelief with their words, in the way the story borders on both fact and extraordinary. The strong fairy belief could still be found in Ireland up through the late 19th century.
The airy mountain, down the rushing glen. We daren't go a-hunting for the fear of little men. We folks and good folks trooping all together. A green jacket, a red cap, and a white owl's feather.
There's many stories of people who interfered with forts or fairy paths or bushes. That interference was very severe, either for their health or for their families.
Fairies have been used as an explanation for everything from life to death to sickness and health. Fairy legends in Ireland differ greatly from the westernized version of fairies that most people think of today in children's books or Disney movies. They are similar in size to humans and share many of the same characteristics and values as humans, but do not have blood in their veins and are forever on the outer edge of humanity, living in the border. When pleased, fairies will generously reward those who have treated them well. However, when displeased, fairies wreak havoc, blighting crops and causing illness and death. The fairies of Ireland were often known for their dark tricks and their ability to steal away children and women and leave their own changelings in place to cause mayhem. There are generally two main ways to classify fairies: the Seelie Court and the Unseelie Court. They are sometimes further divided into trooping fairies and solitary fairies. The Unseelie Court are always unfavorable to humans and dangerous, and the solitary fairies are much more individualistic and less disposed to be kind to humans. The most common tales of solitary fairies that are affiliated with death feature the Dullahan and the Banshee. The Banshee wails, claps her hands, and her eyes are gaunt from mourning, whereas the Dullahan is dark, silent, and headless. These two specific fairies, the Dullahan and the Banshee, were the ones most suspected to cause death and misery.
Technology may move, we may move, but these things don't move. These things were and are and will be the fairies. They were there and they are there. It's we who have changed.
Hi everyone, I'm Gaby.
I'm Christina.
We hope you enjoyed the video. So how we went about this video, we each kind of took our individual notes and the stories that I was raised on because my grandfather is Irish.
It was a topic in lecture, so we started there as a basis for knowledge, but then we went off of that. We started researching different fairy stories that we wanted to incorporate.
The different contributions that we made to the video was, I am horrible at video making. That was something I knew going off into the bat. Definitely a lot of the video making and putting together was definitely her. Wrote out the initial script. We both kind of went back and edited some of the pictures I took were in there from Locker. The story was something that my grandfather had told me. A lot of my initial knowledge about fairies came from him.
Yeah, I created and edited and put together the whole video. It wasn't that difficult to put together, but it is challenging to try and match up the voiceovers and the audios into what you're putting in. It just requires a lot of fiddling around with. It's kind of tedious, but it was kind of fun to put together in the end. The challenges we encountered were that it was difficult at first to get our start. We were having trouble trying to narrow down exactly what we wanted to talk about.
Also, like, one of the challenges was definitely trying to meet up together.
So the decisions that had to be made were, we had to decide exactly what we wanted to say and how we wanted to say it in a certain time frame. Because
the usefulness of the exercise. I mean, I really liked this exercise. It allowed me to further listen to stories that my grandfather used to tell us. I still remember them all. Literally my second day here, I freaked out because I thought I'd heard of Banshee.
It was definitely useful to learn about a specific aspect of Irish folklore beyond what we were learning in lecture, because there's only so much you can learn in one lecture. It was really cool to be able to learn about fairies and this fairy legend that has continually been a part of Irish culture for hundreds of years. It's cool that it has continued to be a sort of, do you believe or do you not believe?